Hey guys, tonight we ride into a story that begins not with a voice, but with a blade. A storm comes early, darker than usual, and with it, a child. She doesn't knock, she doesn't cry, she doesn't even blink. She walks straight through the lightning and stops at your fence post, holding something wrapped in cloth. When you open it, it's a knife. And carved into the hilt are 3 letters. Your mother's, the one they burned before you were born. If you've ever felt the past come knocking in the hands of a stranger, if you've ever wondered whether blood calls to blood even when the names are buried, then tonight's for you. Like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You see her through the glass, a flicker at first, then clearer, standing in the rain, not shivering, not moving. The kind of stillness that doesn't belong to children. You open the door slow. She's soaked to the bone, dress too short, hair matted from wind, eyes dark like smoke that never lifts. She doesn't speak, just extends both hands, in them a cloth bundle, cotton, tied with string, edges fraying. You reach out, hesitate, then take it. She turns, walks to the barn without waiting. You call out. She doesn't look back. You set the bundle on the table. Untie the knot. Inside is a knife, old, bone-handled, worn. You know it. Not from memory, from the stories. The way your father said he found it in the ashes of the cabin they never let you visit, the one that burned the year you were born, the one where your mother died. But he said he buried that knife with her. You pick it up. It's warm. The blade stained from use, not rust. And on the hilt, carved deep. R.M.E., your mother's initials, Rebecca May Emberlin. You run your thumb along the letters, then look toward the barn. The child is gone. You step out into the rain. Lightning cuts the ridge behind your house. Thunder follows slow. You cross the yard, boots sinking in wet clay, open the barn door. She's there, sitting on the ground, cross-legged, calm. She's drawn something in the dirt with her finger. A tree, a cabin, and a knife laid at the door. You swallow hard. She looks up, points to the sketch, then to you, then to the knife in your hand. Still, not a word, just knowing. You kneel beside her. Who gave this to you? She doesn't answer. You try again. Where did you come from? Still nothing. But then she takes your hand, flips it palm up, and runs her finger along your wrist, tracing a circle, then a line through it. You've seen that mark before in your grandfather's journal, right next to the name they erased after the raid. You don't remember that man, but your blood does. Your hand curls around the knife, and somewhere behind your ribs a door begins to creak open. You wake before the light breaks, not from noise, from weight. The kind that settles over your chest like memory turned physical. You sit up slow, careful not to shift the knife resting beside you on the table. It's still there, still warm. You touch the initials again. They haven't changed, but something in you has. You step outside with coffee in hand. The yard glistens, rain still clinging to every surface like a second skin. You scan for footprints. There are none. No sign of the girl. No sign she ever came, except the barn doors open, and there, inside the entry, carved in soft mud by a fingertip, follow. You don't need more. You wrap the knife in cloth, slip it into your coat pocket, and begin walking, not toward town, not toward the ridge. You follow where your boots pull you, down past the cottonwood, past the barbed gate, toward the ruins, the place you said you'd never return to. The trail's overgrown, but your body remembers it, even if your mind pretended to forget. Branches claw at your sleeves like they know what you're doing is trespass. By the time you reach the clearing, the sky's gone slate. The cabin isn't gone, not completely, just blackened bones of it. Timber melted, stone hearth charred, ash still in the corners, like grief that didn't scatter right. You step through the threshold. Kneel. Brush away leaves, soot, and time. There, right where your father said he buried it, the knife. But you already have it. So, what's beneath? You dig. Hands raw, fingernails packed with dirt, 6 inches down. Wood. A box. You pull it out. Unlatch it. Inside, a ring. Simple. Gold. Cracked. And a note. Folded. Edges burned. Your breath stalls. You recognize the handwriting before you even open it. Your mother's. One line. She will come for what I couldn't carry. Your pulse trips. You look up, and the girl is there. Standing beyond the tree line, still barefoot, still watching. She nods once, then turns and walks. You don't follow, not yet. You place the ring on your finger. It doesn't fit, but it rests, and that's enough. You return home near dark. The house feels heavier now, like it knows. You set the ring and the knife on the kitchen table. Sit in silence, until something moves behind you. You turn. The girl's coat is hanging by the door. You didn't hang it there. You don't even know if she ever took it off. You rise, check the room. No one. But on the floor, by the hearth, another drawing, carved into wood, the same tree, same cabin. But this time, there's someone at the door, holding the knife, wearing the ring, and behind them, fire, not consuming, protecting. You touch the edge of the carving, feel the heat rise in your palms. The past isn't following you. It's waiting to see what you'll do next. You sit at the table until the oil lamp burns low, the ring beside the knife, your hands cradling both like they're made of something more than metal. They're too familiar, too warm, as if they've been held recently, but only by you. Or maybe not, because when you look again, the blade's been turned. The initials face you now. RME, your mother's mark. But below it, faint, as if scratched in haste, is a second set of letters. L. You don't recognize them. Yet your stomach knots anyway, because things that don't belong sometimes fit too well. You wrap the knife and the ring, slide them back into your coat, and wait for morning. The sun breaks slow across the valley. No bird song, no wind, only the sound of breath and wood groaning under your boots. You walk, not with purpose, with gravity, toward the ridge. The place your grandfather planted a stand of pines for the children he never named. That was his story, his ledger. He never wrote the names, only marked the trees, and now you stand among them, counting knots, until your hand finds one with a slash across the center, old, carved by someone who knew the blade. You pull the knife, hold it beside the mark. It matches, to the curve, to the grain. This is where it began, or where it was meant to end. You kneel, start clearing leaves, then roots, then stone. A trapdoor, half rotted. You hesitate, then lift. The cellar beneath is shallow, damp, but intact. And inside, on a shelf made of crate wood and rusted nails, is a second box. Smaller. You open it. A journal. The paper wrapped in waxed linen. You unseal it. The first page is blank. The second holds a single line. She burned, but she never vanished. I saw her walk through fire barefoot and smiling. Your throat tightens. The ink is old. But the page feels new, like someone placed it here not years ago, but yesterday. You climb out with the journal under your arm, hold it against your ribs like it might slip through you otherwise. On the hill, the girl is waiting. She doesn't speak, but she points toward the south tree line, and you follow her gaze, a flicker, then gone, someone watching. You whisper, "Who was E.L.?" The girl finally speaks. Her voice is smoke and cotton. "Your mother's first daughter." You stop breathing. "That's not possible." She shrugs. "Then why did she leave a name you've never spoken?" You kneel, try to understand. Try to see the whole, but all you see is a ring that doesn't fit, a knife with too many owners, a girl who draws maps of places no one taught her to name, and a sister no one told you existed. You return home in silence. The wind breaks just as you cross the porch. It sounds like a name you almost remember. You open the journal again. The third page is blank. but as your finger touches it, ink bleeds up from the paper. A new line writes itself. Names aren't buried. They're passed. You sit. Open your ledger. Begin a new entry. Write your own name, slow and full. Then, beneath it, you write hers. Esther Lynn. Because someone should have, and now someone has. You keep the journal by your bed now, not for reading, for watching. Each morning you open it, and some mornings a new line waits. Not always full, not always clear, but always hers. Esther Lynn. She writes like someone trying to remember out loud. Yesterday's message said, "You almost found me once, but someone moved the door. You haven't stopped thinking about it since. You thought the cabin fire was the end. You thought names burned clean. But now the ledger on your table has yours and hers. And something in you keeps whispering, there may be more." You write out afternoon, not to any place marked, just where the girl seems to glance when she thinks you're not watching. You reach the south slope by sunset, same ridge line your uncle used to hunt, where they said the Comanche crossed in winter, quiet as stars. There's a tree here, bent at the middle. You tie your horse to its base, walk the edge of the ridge, and find a marker, small, flat stone, no engraving, just a ring of white ash around it. You crouch, sweep the stone aside. Beneath it, leather, soft from weather. You unwrap it slowly. Inside, a braid of red hair, a wooden carving of a sleeping woman, and a pendant made of river stone, etched with the same mark carved into your mother's comb. You didn't think much of it as a child, but now it returns, like an answer you didn't know you were asking. You sit under the tree, hold the pendant up to the fading light. The girl kneels beside you. She speaks, without looking at you. She made it after she saw the fire in her dream. You ask, who? But you already know. She says the name anyway, soft, certain. Esther. The girl places the carving on your palm. You feel the grooves. They aren't worn. They're fresh. Someone's been touching this, not years ago, recently. You rise. Look out over the valley. Same land your family fenced and forgot. Same slope where your cousin vanished, chasing a sound he couldn't name. You ask, where's the door? She points to nothing. But you step that way anyway. 20 paces, then another. And then you feel it. A dip in the earth, covered by moss. You kneel again, brush it aside. There, wood grain, a door frame, half swallowed. You pull your blade, use the edge to pry. It gives, just enough to open. Inside, a hole, deep, dry, cold. You drop a stone, no sound returns. You turn to the girl. She nods. You lower yourself in. The descent is slow, the air still. Your fingers brush symbols carved into the shaft wall. You feel them, but don't need to see. You know them now, not what they mean, what they promise. At the bottom, a room, no fire, no bones, just stillness. And in the center, a chair. And on the chair, a scarf, red, torn at one end. You remember that scarf. From a photo no one could name. You pick it up. It smells of cedar and old tobacco. You close your eyes, and the name finds you again. Esther Lynn, your sister, not gone, not buried, just passed, waiting for someone to carry her forward. You don't climb out right away. You sit there in the dark, scarf in your hands, letting the silence settle around you like warm dust. It isn't empty down here, not truly. It holds breath, echo, presence, and a kind of waiting that doesn't press, just watches. You tie the scarf around your wrist, not for decoration, not for mourning, just to carry her with you. You climb out slow, careful, your boots finding old handholds carved by someone else. When you reach the surface, the girl's not there. But in her place, folded on the tree stump, is a single piece of paper. It's damp, smudged, drawn in charcoal. It shows a circle of 5 symbols. One of them, the same one on the pendant, has been redrawn over and over. And in the center, a name. Esther Lynn Emberlin. It shouldn't exist, not officially, not in the county ledger, but now it does. Here. Drawn by a girl with no last name. You ride home under moonlight, the stars thick enough to feel like memory. You pass the field where your brother buried a stolen colt. You pass the bend where your uncle confessed he saw your mother talking to someone long after she was supposed to be dead. You don't stop. The knife at your side swings gently with each hoofbeat, and the scarf tugs like it remembers something. When you get home, the lantern on the porch is lit, no wind. But the flame dances anyway. Inside, the ledger waits, still open to the last page, still blank. You sit and write. She remembered the fire wrong. It wasn't the house that burned. It was the name. And it survived. You set the pen down, close the book, just for now. In the morning, the girl returns, carries nothing, says nothing, just walks to the table, points to the ledger, then to the carving near the hearth, the one she made days ago, the door, the knife, the ring. This time she adds a figure beside them, small, holding a scarf. Beneath it she writes one word. Next. You ask, next what? She looks up at you and says with the weight of more than one lifetime, next keeper. Your hand tightens around the cloth at your wrist, and you finally understand. The knife wasn't meant to stay buried, the ring wasn't yours to keep, and the name wasn't meant to fade. It was meant to be carried until someone else was ready to draw the next map. You wake to wind. It pushes against the house like a memory that forgot how to whisper. Outside, the sky is pale. The kind of pale that comes after truth is spoken. You rise slow, check the ledger, still closed. But your hands itch for the pen. Instead, you step outside. The girl is sitting cross-legged in the yard. She's drawing in the dirt with a stick, not a tree, not a building, a face, not yours, not hers. You kneel beside her, and when she finishes, you see it. A woman. Hair tied back, eyes closed, lines under each one, like she's always half listening. You ask, who is she? The girl says, she buried the name and paid for it. You don't press, because you know that voice. You've used it before. When the wound is too fresh for explanation, you touch the edge of the sketch. Wind smears the lines. The girl doesn't stop it. Some drawings aren't meant to last, only to warn. You ride out before lunch, satellite, no destination. You let the land choose. The horse carries you south, past the split rocks, past the salt flats where nothing grows. You find yourself at the riverbank, the same one your grandfather refused to cross in winter, said it took too many names. There under the bluff you see it, a pile of stones, new, stacked with intent, not mourning. Message. At the base, another pendant, this one carved from bone, the same mark, but this time someone scratched something new beneath it. RME, Ile. 3 sets, 3 generations. You stare at the third, blank, waiting. You don't touch it, not yet. You need to earn it. You turn and see the woman, not the girl. The woman from the drawing. She stands at the tree line, watches you without expression, then vanishes. No sound, no shift of leaves, only a single leaf spinning where she stood. You ride home faster than you meant to. The scarf flutters at your wrist, not resisting, just reminding. That night the girl places a new object on the table, wrapped in cloth. You open it, another knife. But this one's not old. It's yours, the one you buried when your son left. You ask, where did you get this? She doesn't answer, just draws again. This time it's a house, half burned, half built, and inside it 2 figures. One is you, the other is smaller, holding a match. You stare and understand. Sometimes fire isn't destruction, it's inheritance. You take the old knife and the new one, lay them side by side. They mirror each other, same curve, same balance, only the etchings differ. One says RME, the other says nothing. You pick up your blade, carve 3 letters into its hilt, not initials, a name. Esther. You hand it to the girl. She doesn't take it, just says, not for me, for the next one. And suddenly you realize she isn't here to carry, she's here to choose. And the one she's choosing isn't her. It's you. You don't sleep that night. The knife stays on the table. Its weight feels different now, not just steel and memory, but expectation. The girl doesn't speak again. She just watches, like she's waiting for you to decide what kind of story you want to live in. Not the one you were handed, the one you'll leave behind. By morning the wind has settled. The girl is gone, not far, just elsewhere. You feel it in the way the door doesn't creak when you open it. In the quiet that isn't lonely, just paused. You set water to boil, slide the ledger toward you, flip back to the beginning. The earliest entry is written in a hand not yours, not your father's, your mother's maybe, but fainter, uncertain. The knife was never meant to protect. It was meant to remember. You trace the words, then turn to a blank page. Write, "She didn't leave the knife. She left the choice." You spend the day walking the boundary of your land. The corners you haven't visited since the fence sagged and the windmill broke. The trees bear marks now, not letters, symbols. You recognize 3. The 4th is new, a circle divided twice. It sits just above a burial mound with no marker, just stones arranged in the shape of an eye. You kneel, touch the center. It's warm, even in the shade. You don't dig, you don't have to. Some graves don't hold bodies, they hold names. And names once known don't rest until carried again. At dusk you light the lantern, open the ledger, place the scarf beside it, and the new knife beside the old. And you begin to write, not about the girl, not about Esther, about you, your story, your failure to speak, your choice to return, your willingness to be a map when no one else would hold still long enough to draw one. The page fills slowly, but your hand doesn't shake. When it's done, you fold the paper, slide it into the spine of the ledger, then wait. Because you know someone will find it, someone will come, just like she did, not to follow your footsteps, to see where you stood still long enough to let the fire speak. The next morning, the knife is gone, not stolen, taken. There's a difference. The scarf remains folded neatly on the table, but the blade is missing. You stare at the empty spot, then at the open door, then at the boot prints on the porch, smaller than yours, sharper than the girl's. Someone else was here, someone who knew not to knock. You walk the edge of the house, the prints disappear in the grass. But near the well you find something left behind, a stone, smooth, flat, palm-sized, etched on one side with a single mark. A line crossing 2 names, yours and hers. You sit on the step, stone in hand, and realize this isn't a warning, it's a seal, a story closed, and another waiting. You ride south again, past the hollow, past the bluff, toward the Red River. The water runs shallow this time of year. Your horse drinks while you scan the bank. Nothing at first. Then you spot it, a cloth bundle caught in the roots. You wade in, knee-deep, pull it free. It's soaked, heavy. Inside, a child's drawing, half erased by water, a lock of hair tied with red string, and a folded paper you've never seen. You sit under the nearest tree. Open it slow. The writing is familiar. But not from your hand. It reads, "She returned what you carried. Now carry what was buried." You fold it again, place it in your coat pocket, and whisper a name that never made it into your family's ledger. Esther Lynn Emberlin. Daughter, witness, keeper. When you return home, dusk has begun its slow descent. You light the lamp, slide the drawing out from the bundle. Even soaked, the lines are clear. 2 hands holding a single object between them, not a ring, not a knife. A name, drawn in full. Not initials, not shorthand, but a name you never learned to say aloud without guilt. Your own. You pin it to the wall beside the ledger, then open the ledger to its last page. No more blank space. You write, "It was never about protecting the name. It was about saying it fully, finally, out loud, and surviving it." The ink settles into the paper like breath. And you know, the girl may never return. but the story will. In someone else's hand. In someone else's fire. You don't write the next day, you listen. To the creak of floorboards in an empty room, to the hush of the grass under wind, to the way silence rests when no one's trying to fill it. You carry the ledger with you like a pocket gospel, not to write in, to remember who wrote before you. Each name etched into its pages weighs more than the one before. You read them all, twice, not just the names, but the things they couldn't say out loud, the cracks between the lines, the places they used slashes instead of full words, because saying it would have made it real, but they wrote it anyway, and now it's yours. Midday, a stranger arrives, not the girl, not the woman, someone older. A boy, maybe 16, hat too big, shirt too clean, but he carries something in his hands wrapped in hide. You step outside before he knocks. He offers the bundle. You take it. Don't ask his name. He turns and leaves. Doesn't look back. You carry the weight inside. Lay it on the table. Unwrap it slow. Inside, a bone-handled knife, a scrap of paper with a sketch of your house, and a single word written across the bottom, "Return." The knife's not new, it's not yours, but your hand closes around it like it's always belonged there. You place it beside the old ledger, then unfold the sketch, your house, but not as it is, as it was. Before the fire, before the second roof, before the girl came. In the window, a face. Yours, but younger, holding something in both hands. It's hard to tell what, until the lamp catches it just right. A name, drawn in bold strokes, a name no child should have known how to spell. Esther. You ride to the canyon before sunset. Something pulls you there, not memory, gravity. You follow the dry wash. Find the ring of stones near the cliff edge. Sit beside them. The wind picks up. Inside the circle, carved into one of the stones, RME. You pull the scarf from your wrist, lay it across the carving, and for a moment, everything holds still. Then, something moves in the brush behind you. You don't turn, you speak instead. Was it ever meant for me? The wind answers, soft, certain. Yes? You close your eyes, and when you open them, the circle is empty, but the scarf is gone. You ride home in silence, not the fearful kind, the kind that settles after something old has been returned. You don't look for the scarf, you don't expect it to come back. You gave it up in the only way that matters out here, not to forget, to let go. When you reach the house, dusk is already in the windows. You tie off the horse, step inside. The air is warm with memory. You don't light the lamp, you don't need to. The glow from the coals is enough. On the table, the ledger waits. You run your hand along the spine and still leather, still creased, where your father used to open it. Still carrying names that weren't meant to survive. You flip to the page where you left off. The next one is blank, except for the faintest outline of a hand, drawn in charcoal. You didn't do that, but you know who did. The girl, or someone like her. You press your palm to the outline, and it fits. Not perfectly, but enough. You begin to write. I didn't follow the map, I became it, and maybe that's what she meant all along. That night the wind speaks again, only once. A soft rustle at the porch. You open the door. A bundle rests on the top step, wrapped in blue fabric, a ring tied to the knot. No note. You carry it inside. Unwrap it slow. Inside, folded paper, a pressed flower, a charcoal sketch of a knife, and a name written in the margin, ERB. You hold the ring to the firelight. It's iron, worn, and cracked clean down the center. It belonged to Evelyn Ruth Blackwell, your mother's sister, the one who vanished before the fire. You never knew her, but you heard her name once. Whispered by your grandfather when he thought no one was listening. You place the ring beside the others. You don't ask why it came back now, you know. Because every story that gets buried waits for someone willing to dig. You unfold the drawing. It's different this time. The knife rests on a page, and beneath it, names, too many to count. Some you know, some you don't. all of them crossed out, except one, yours, underlined. You sit down, write one line in the margin. If you find this, don't follow me, write beside me. Then you close the ledger, press the ring into its cover, and let the quiet wrap around you again. The snow falls overnight. You wake to white on the porch rail, clinging to the windows, muffling every sound. The world looks quieter this way, like it's trying not to interrupt. You make coffee, wrap the scarf that isn't yours around your shoulders. The girl doesn't come back. But you find her mark, carved into the frost, on the glass. A circle, a line, a name. Yours. No message this time, just a reminder. You still carry it, and so does someone else. The road out of town is closed, not by snow, but by a fallen tree. You take the long way, past the creek where your aunt once washed blood from a shirt no one ever claimed. You don't tell anyone that you're going. You ride until the sun burns through the low clouds, and there it is. A cabin intact, standing where nothing should be. You tie the horse, approach slow. The doors open. Inside, silence. No dust, no footprints. Just one chair, one table. And on the table, 3 objects. A ring, a knife, and a journal. Not the one you brought, not the one your mother wrote. This one's made of bark and thread and something older. You lift the cover and see your own writing. But you've never seen this book, never touched it. Still, it's your hand on the page, your story, written in full. All the names, all the burns, all the fire you never spoke aloud. You turn the page and see more. Events that haven't happened yet, places you haven't been, lines you haven't lived. You flip to the end. There's no period, no final line, just space, waiting. You sit. The pen rests beside the journal. You don't remember picking it up, but your fingers curl around it like it belongs there. You write, "If this is prophecy, I won't fight it. If it's memory, I'll finish it. If it's both, then maybe I was always meant to be the middle." You close the book, stand, look at the fire that hasn't been lit in years, then light it, not for warmth, but to say, this place is seen again, this story is still being told, and if someone comes after, they'll know where to begin. The fire crackles into dawn. You don't sleep. You sit on the floor back against the wall, watching the shadows move across the beams. Outside, the snow softens the world. Inside, the air is thick with memory, but it's not your memory, not entirely. It feels borrowed or inherited. You rise, stretch, and lift the journal again. The page where you stopped writing last night now holds a new line, not yours, different ink, different hand, but familiar. Don't forget the one who carried you before you could write. You say the name aloud. Esther. And something in the walls exhales, a sigh of cedar, of ash, of old things finally acknowledged. You return home by midday. The girl is waiting on your porch. No drawing this time, just her, barefoot, calm. She holds out her hand. You place the scarf in it without a word. She wraps it around her wrist, then holds up a slip of paper, a single word written in charcoal. Last. You ask, last what? She says, "You're the last who needs to remember. The next will need to forget." You don't understand, not yet. But you nod, because some truths come soft, and others arrive like thunder after silence. She walks into the house, straight to the ledger, opens it, flips through pages without reading them, stops at the one you haven't written on, the final one. She tears it out, folds it, and places it in her pocket. Then she closes the book, pushes it towards you. "It's finished," she says. You ask, "But I haven't written the ending." She looks at you, head tilted. "You're not supposed to." You open your mouth, close it. The wind picks up outside, carries snow against the windows in long, dragging sweeps. The girl walks to the door, places her hand on the frame, leaves a print of ash. Then steps out, doesn't turn back. This time you don't follow. That night the ledger stays closed. For the first time in weeks, your hands don't ache to write. You sit by the hearth. The knife still rests on the mantel. You light a small candle, place it beside the ring, and whisper one more line into the stillness. She didn't carry the story because it was hers. She carried it because no one else would. Then you let the flame go out, not from fear, from completion. The next morning you find a letter tucked beneath the porch rail, wrapped in oilcloth, marked only with a symbol, the circle, the 5 notches, the line through the middle. You unfold it carefully. Inside, a map, drawn in charcoal on old butcher paper. It shows a canyon, a split tree, a cabin half sunken into hillside. At the bottom, a single sentence. If you want to bury it for good, you'll have to bring it back. There's no signature, but you recognize the hand. Esther's, or the girl's, maybe both. You pack light, just the ledger, the knife, and the ring. You don't carry the scarf, it belongs elsewhere now. You leave before sunrise, follow the trail the map draws, past the burned ridge and the forgotten graves. By midday you reach the canyon. The air feels different here, thinner, as if the past hasn't left, just bent its knees and crouched in the shade. You find the split tree, its roots gnarl around a sunken doorway. You kneel, push the brush aside. A cellar entrance, boarded shut, but not locked. You pry it open, step inside. The space smells of dust and ash, but not decay. There's a chair, a desk, a candle stub melted into stone, and on the wall, charcoal drawings, dozens, figures, scenes, names half written and crossed out. At the center, the same symbol again, circle, notches, slash. This time, beneath it, RME, Ely, you. You touched the charcoal. It smudges beneath your finger. But the meaning doesn't fade. You sit, open the ledger, set the ring on the desk, and speak aloud. I came to bury it, but it buried me first. The air doesn't answer. It receives. You strike the match, light the candle, and begin tearing pages from the ledger, not to destroy, to place them where they belong. In the cracks, under the stones, between the walls, letting the names finally rest. You burn the last 2, let them rise into the beams, where the smoke can speak for you. Then you stand, step outside, and bury the ledger in the roots of the tree, deep enough that even memory will need permission to find it again. As you ride home, the wind changes. The sky turns golden, then quiet. No messages, no drawings, just land. And your own name, finally weightless. You return home just after nightfall. No one waits on the porch, no scarf on the hook, no paper on the floorboards, and for once, you don't look for them. You hang your coat, place the knife on the mantel, slide the ring into the drawer where your father kept his tobacco and regret. Then you sit, hands open, empty, not lost, not carrying, just still. The house doesn't feel haunted now. It feels hollowed, in the right way, like a pipe cleared for smoke, like a ledger full, then closed. You breathe deep, stretch your fingers, and pick up a new page, not from the old ledger, a blank one, fresh, uncreased. You begin writing, not history, not burden, something else, something present. The girl who walked through fire didn't do it to escape. She did it to leave light behind for the ones too afraid to follow. You set the page down. Let the ink settle, then rise. Open the front door. Cold wind slips in, smells like cedar and something older. You step onto the porch. No figure in the dark, but in the dirt at your feet, a small mark, finger drawn, half circle, one notch, the beginning of a new symbol, unfinished. You kneel, trace it once with your fingertip, then leave it, unfinished, for the next hand. That night you sleep without the ledger beneath your bed. You dream without flame or pursuit, only a quiet cabin, a name spoken gently, and a child drawing a door no one's closed yet. You wake before dawn. The wind has changed again, not direction, tone, like it's whispering through all the names you no longer need to carry, like it's asking you to listen just once more before it moves on. You wake with the sun, slow and unhurried, no weight on your chest, no whisper behind your ears, just the sound of wind in the chimney and your own breath. Easy, You rise, stretch, step onto the porch barefoot. The grass is cold, but forgiving. The sky wide and pale, full of space. The kind your family never left you, but you've made room for anyway. You brew coffee, don't bother with a cup. Drink it straight from the pot, strong, bitter, honest. You sit by the hearth, look around the room. Nothing moves. No paper on the floor. No blade out of place. No drawing waiting on the wall, and yet everything hums, not loudly, just steady, like breath, like a heart, like a story that doesn't need to be told again because it already became the land. You pick up a fresh page, write one sentence. I carried her name, and in doing so, I learned how to carry my own. You fold the page, slip it into the back of a new ledger, not the one from your mother, not the one from the girl, yours. Blank, bound in hide. Worn from your own hands, not anyone else's. You tuck it into a drawer, not hidden, just waiting. Before noon, you walk to the ridge, stand beneath the cedar where the roots once swallowed secrets. You don't bury anything, you don't dig, you sit. Place your hand on the earth. Whisper the names one last time, not to remember, to bless. And then you go home. At sunset, someone approaches on foot, small, barefoot, not the girl, not quite. A boy, maybe 9, carrying a folded paper and something wrapped in red cloth. He doesn't speak, just offers it to you. You take it gently, unwrap it. Inside, a wooden ring and a charcoal sketch. A house, half built, half burned. At the center, a figure seated in shadow. And underneath the word, yours. You nod. Open the door, step aside. Let him in. Not because he belongs to you, but because he brings something that does. A name you don't know yet, a story not yet begun, but one that trusts you enough to start here. That night you light the lamp, open your ledger, and on the first page you write, "She came through fire and left the door open, so I could build what she never had time to finish." You close the book, lean back, let the night settle around you, and whisper one last time, "I'm still listening.